We'll give everybody time to trickle in as they join before we jump into this. I know everyone's excited to get started.
I'm very excited, Jasper.
Same, I think this is going to be very beneficial and, fingers crossed, entertaining as well.
All right, Jasper, I say we get this party started.
Sounds like a plan. I want to welcome everyone to our best practices for mastering candidate text messaging webinar. I know we're all excited to get started, but before we do that, I do want to thank everyone for taking time out of your day to join us. As I mentioned earlier, just a moment ago, I do think this is going to be a very beneficial uh, session and also entertaining. I think there's going to be a lot of humor and insight that we're going to provide today. And I do expect questions, and we will have questions and answers afterwards after this session. So if you do think of anything, write those down, make a note, and send them our way, and we will get to those afterwards. I'm Jasper Pilgrim. I'm a senior technical support rep here at Sense. Our support team works very closely with SMS operations, particularly in the past 2 years with the landscape changing, carrier changes, et cetera. That has become a much more close relationship and cross collaboration. Our entire support team works closely with Craig Balkin's team uh, to work on these issues, understand best practices, and essentially help people comply and thrive and get what they need out of our products based on the historical knowledge we've gained over this time. And you'll see this beautiful face over here, Craig Balkin. This is our SMS products operations associate. He is our legend, and I believe if you looked up gentleman and scholar in a dictionary, you will probably find his picture. And I'm going to leave it at that, Craig. I will let you speak on yourself.
Well, thank you, Jasper. Hey, everyone, it's nice to see you. Jasper, I appreciate the kind words. You are dressed like a gentleman and a scholar. I am dressed in my Sense garb. My name is Craig Balkin. Again, great to have you here. I'm on the operations team here at Sense. Been here for a year and a half, but I have been in messaging for a very long time, maybe 17 years in telecommunications for a little bit over 20 years or so. So I've kind of seen it all, seen the growth of the channel. Very excited for the recent announcement that Apple is going to support RCS. We've been waiting that for a long time. Prior to here, I was at a marketing automation platform doing the same thing. Prior to that, I ran a small company, software company that connected other software companies to the carriers to transact short code messaging. So many of you have heard from me before. We've talked about best practices, so I'm excited to do this in a session today. All right, real quick, shameless plug about Sense. I know not all of you are customers, so a little bit about us. We are the talent engagement platform, okay? And Sense allows you to deliver a best-in-class end-to-end talent experience where you can accelerate your hiring, drive recruiter efficiency, and reduce attrition with omni-channel communication and recruiting automation. This slide to me is a little bit more fun, just to kind of understand how much we're running under the covers here at Sense in terms of operations, how much messaging we're sending. It's kind of exciting to me, at least. But we have a lot of cool ribbons that we hang above the stadium, as you can see up there, from all the different sort of review leaders, including G2. We are well north of 1,000 customers. We have over 75,000 users on the platform, roughly 250 million candidates in our database that we've reached out and touched at some point or another. And we are just over 400 employees. We were established in 2016, headquartered in the financial district in beautiful San Francisco. And you can see below some of the awards that we've received over the years while we've been in business. Okay, so let's talk agenda, right? What are we going to talk about today? We are going to cover some regulatory updates. There's been some significant ones that I think is worth sharing. Then the meat of our session today will be around messaging best practices. We'll take a few short 2 minutes or less of your time for a Sense high volume broadcasting demonstration, and then we will leave some time for Q&A. I do want to mention, if you were with us last year, and there were a lot of folks that joined us last year, okay, there is some regurgitation of information that we talked about last year. Again, we're here to reinforce. There's also a lot of new topics, so I definitely think it'll be worth your time to hang out with us. All right, let's jump into it. Okay. FCC updates. For those of you that are not aware, your messaging is regulated if you're sending business to consumer messaging. The telecommunications companies are regulated, and they are at the federal level regulated by the Federal Communications Commission. Okay, there's been a couple of interesting things that have come about over the past 2 years, starting really last year. All right, the FCC had a notice of proposed rulemaking to update the TCPA. We'll get into that in a few minutes. One of the key things that they mentioned in the notice of rulemaking was to codify the do not call list and apply it to SMS. Kind of a common misconception in the industry and those that are sending messaging that the DNC applied to text messaging. It did not. The FCC intends to codify that at some point this year. Another big one, starting in January of 2025. I refer to it as the ban on third-party consent. What I've seen it called around the world here in telco is the ban on, the approval of one-to-one consent. Basically, to break that down, what that means is there's a ban coming into effect that, for example, in the recruiting space, if you take a resume from Indeed and that subscriber, that candidate opted in to receive messages from Indeed, and then you text them, that would technically violate the third-party consent rule that will be enacted next year. Now, we'll get into the different legal things here in a slide or two, but something that I definitely want to make you aware of, okay? So what does that mean? That means definitely in the future, as you move forward this year and next year and start to plan, be very, very wary of lead purchasing. Okay. Then down the line, we have the carriers and the carriers in compliance, right? Lot of pressure on the carriers and the aggregators to comply with the TCPA, with local laws. Some of you may have heard that states are passing laws as well, like Florida, like Michigan, and a few others. Okay. So there's a lot of pressure on the carriers, and the carriers, for the most part, they've done a pretty good job of kicking down that compliance to the aggregator partners. Those are the connection partners to the carriers. Companies you may hear like Twilio, Bandwidth, Cinch, Infobip, okay? So there's a lot of pressure on them to know your traffic. They call it KYT. That means that at the aggregator level and at the carrier level, they are monitoring and inspecting traffic that goes out on business to consumer messaging. Okay, the thing you need to remember is both of these, the carriers and the aggregators, have total control over your deliverability. Okay, so if they don't want your message to get through to a candidate, they can ensure that that happens. All right, another big thing, pretty much all of you are aware, okay, you can say goodbye to unregistered SMS. If your if you're running a local long code number, must be registered to 10DLC. If you're running a toll-free number for as your sender, you must be registered for verified toll-free. And short codes are a long application process, so those have been pre-vetted for a long time. All right, few 10DLC updates, okay? For those of you that are not aware, a 10-digit long code program is run by the campaign registry. It is the default US anti-spam registry. If you're sending long code messaging, and most of our customers are, all right, you must be registered with a campaign at the campaign registry. Okay. One thing we talked about last year is that there was a rumor that there may be campaign revetting coming down the line. So far, that rumor has pretty much been squashed, so we don't have to worry about going through sort of a revetting process. Okay. But one thing I started hearing a lot about, and we're seeing at the aggregator level and at the carrier level, is that AI message reputation scoring is likely eventually coming to the industry. That means that there's going to be an algorithm that is reviewing the messaging that you're sending and scoring it for quality. And how a low score or high score will affect you going forward, still a lot of unknowns, but something we want to call out. Again, that's why we're here. Best practices, right? Few call outs about the program if you're not familiar. When you apply, you get a brand score. It's from 1 to 100. 100 being awesome, you're trustworthy, and 1 being you're not trustworthy. If your trust score is low, it can be increased. Reach out to us and we can kind of walk you through that. Your trust score does have a significant impact on 10DLC messaging though, especially for T-Mobile. Okay. T-Mobile will not allow an unlimited amount of messages to be sent to their subscribers on 10DLC. Okay. If your trust score is very high, you can send up to 200,000 segments a day to T-Mobile subscribers. It resets at midnight every day, midnight Pacific time, I should say. Okay. If your trust score is low, you can only send like 2,000 messages. Excuse me. That's not a lot. Okay. And with regards to 10DLC, it also affects your message throughput. Excuse me 1 second. Also affects your message throughput, right? The amount of messages that you can send per second to the carriers. But even at a low trust score, your throughput is basically 4 messages per second per the big 3 carriers. That's combined like 12. That's still pretty good. It allows you to get done what you need to get done. All right. Now, lastly, what is the law? What is the carrier rules? A lot of debate on LinkedIn and all sorts of different things. Excuse me. The TCPA, Telephone Consumer Protection Act of 1993. Okay. What does it require? Prior express written consent in order to send a text message, a telemarketing solicitation, a marketing text to a subscriber. A lot of debate about that. I'm not going to get into it here. Okay, but something to keep in mind. All right. But if the subscriber opts out, you must respect that. You cannot text them again. So if they reply stop, don't text them again. Definitely avoid lead purchasing in the future. Okay. Highly recommend it. And engage internal counsel, engage legally annually. Always a good idea to get a lawyer's opinion. I totally understand. Super expensive. My brother's a lawyer. He's way overpriced. Okay. But that money can save you a lot of money in the long run. Okay. Excuse me. All right. What are the carrier rules? Okay. So carrier rules and the law, different things. All right. Is double opt-in required? No, it's not. It's a recommended best practice. Okay. The carriers do want to see in that first initial message that you send to anybody, reply stop to quit. The carriers want you to tell people how to opt out. Whoa, Jasper, I'm dying today.
I got your back. Let me know what you need.
Ah, man. Sorry about that, folks. Okay. Reply stop to quit in that first message. All right. It is a carrier rule, carrier best practice. The other big thing, a compliant web privacy policy on your website. We've sent a bunch of PSAs around about this, and we're still seeing people that do not have one. Okay. If you are sharing data with third parties, you must disclaim the sharing of opt-in consent with those third parties. Okay. That must be disclaimed on your privacy policy. Reach out to us if you have any questions. And then lastly, the banned use cases. SHAFT, ridiculous acronym. Okay. Stands for sex, hate, alcohol, firearms, tobacco. Also drugs, debt collection, and predatory lending. Woo, excuse me. Ban use cases on the carriers, okay? That content is banned. We'll get into that in a little bit. Why are you here? Well, this is a case study from CRH, all right? One of the largest building, it is the largest building manufacturer in the country, building materials manufacturer in the country, okay? Fortune 500 company, all right? This is the impact of best practices. They have a 60% candidate response rate. That's insane. Okay, many of you won't see that, but we do want to see above 30%. All right. Their opt-out rate, 19 out of 68,000 candidates reached. That's insane. Anybody would dream of that opt-out rate, okay? So that means candidates want to hear from them. They want to see what messages CRH is sending to them, and they're engaging with them back, all right, to try and work with that company, okay? These are amazing statistics. And an average of 19 hours saved per week with automation. That is what we're after. Excuse me. That is what we're after. That is why we're here. All right. What is a text message? Brief history. Invented in the late 80s, propagated in Europe in the early 90s, okay? To what it is today, it is still growing. It's insanity. So key thing here, key theme, all right, is basic text. SMS stands for short message service. Short message service. Keep it short, please. And we do not, SMS does not support HTML. Can't format, can't bullet point, none of that. Okay. Simple, complete sentences. All right, Jasper, clearly my voice is out of control today. So I am going to let you handle the next slide.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As far as carriers are concerned, there's two types of messaging traffic. The one we see in our day-to-day lives, that's P2P, peer-to-peer. You're speaking to your loved ones, your family, etc. And you can do whatever you can express yourself as you like. You have your First Amendment right there, and there's not strong regulations as long as we're not breaking any actual federal laws, anything serious like that. But as far as the carriers are concerned, you have your First Amendment right, and you're free to speak how you would like to speak. The traffic we're talking about today is A to P, application to person, and that's going to be business to consumer, business to client, commercial texting, those types of things. The key difference between these two types of traffic is you're being watched with A to P. Carriers look at this very carefully. They want to know, are they following best practices? Who are they? Has this all been documented as to their use case for sending these messages, etc.? There's many things to think about there. I know it can be frightening, scary a little bit, but there's great news, and it's really as simple as adopting this below mantra, which is comply and thrive. If you comply, you will thrive. They're interconnected, and complying is, in my opinion, that's 95% of the battle. You will be successful, and it will bring you more business because you're not being carrier filtered. You're not constantly having to remediate things or change content, etc. And for carrier filtering, there's going to be really four things that flag, in my experience, looking at historical data, going through documentation, just what we see day to day. And those are going to be trigger words and characters, which we'll go into more detail later momentarily. As scale, and that would be broadcast, essentially sending mass messages, because those are treated a little bit differently than one-on-one messages because we're sending so much at a single time. Uh, Another thing carrier filtering is looking for links and email addresses, um, which of course, we all send links and email addresses. So we'll also go into that and why that's important and why this is something that is looked at so carefully. And finally, non-keyboard characters, and that's going to be things like emojis, which carriers are tolerable about, I believe, but there's concerns about using them, and we want to go into that and explain those concerns.
That's right, Jasper. Okay. So kind of going through what Jasper just mentioned, all right, filtering and trigger words. All right, recruiting has a collection of words that are synonymous with banned use cases. Okay. And these trigger words can result in a temporary failure of your messaging, hands down. You notice we talked about shaft and then drugs, right? We have a lot of agencies here that are doing recruiting for jobs that require drug tests. So we see this filtering often, okay? And you'll notice we have over here some words on the right in yellow. Okay, those are generally safe words. All right, especially when we're talking about drug testing, and that includes the slang terms. You'll notice we have Kush there, but if you say Kush, THC, drug testing, generally in a lot of cases that is going to lead to what is called a content filter. All right. So if you're going to talk to a candidate about having to take a drug test, we do recommend that you use substance testing. You'll also see here, right? Apply now. What is that synonymous with? It's synonymous with debt consolidation, predatory lending, right? Also for recruiting, right? Apply now for this job. Okay. We recommend that you avoid apply now. All right. The candidate gets the idea. You don't need to add that now, right? Here's the link to apply, those sort of things. All right. Generally will be clear, but be careful with apply now. Okay. Cash, Benjamins, whatever you want to call it, stick to the word money. That is the safe word. Okay. And then you'll see things like free and urgent, those sort of words. Stick to critical. All right. Critical is generally a safe word when you are desperately trying to fill a position for a job that has to go off tomorrow. Okay. So we see that a lot around here at Sense, and we just wanted to make sure that we share that with you.
Awesome. And so we have those trigger words. There's also special characters to be on the lookout for. The main two, and these are the main two because they're common special characters in staffing. These are things you probably already use daily. It's the dollar sign and the exclamation mark. Um, for the dollar sign, we would suggest using an alternative abbreviation such as USD 42 per hour instead of dollar sign 42. That is very helpful. It's not a guarantee you would be filtered. However, it's just another factor in the larger picture of things, and we see much better success rate when we avoid these dollar signs in particular when sending out content. Um, Additionally, the exclamation mark. This one, I get a lot of questions about this one because we want to be enthusiastic. We want to send exclamation marks and let them know, hey, we want to talk to you. One does the job. One is totally fine. It is benign. It won't cause any major concerns. However, what we run into, and this includes with the dollar signs as well, as you can see in our screenshot, we have three dollar signs here. Not good. We would not want that here at all. We would want to replace that with a word, obviously, or even potentially specifics about it, USD, etc., or whatever may be the use case here. But it also brings up another point for these dollar signs and these exclamation marks. Carriers are not just looking for a repeating sequence. So it's not just the dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign. This would be the same concern if it said hello, dollar sign. We have a position available, dollar sign, price here, and then added another dollar sign. That is still three dollar signs within that message, which is what we would absolutely never advise to do. And I would say the same for exclamation marks. I know it's common. We would say hello, exclamation mark. Are you looking for work? Question mark. We have a great position available for you, exclamation mark. That to the carriers is excessive, and it does put eyes on that type of content, even though the rest of the content may be clean and all good. But we do want to watch out for these special characters because they most definitely alert these algorithms, the carriers, and we have ways around that to in our best practices to avoid that. Doing this over and over, however, will increase the carrier filtering. So strongly advise if we can break that habit and wherever possible, replace those.
Agreed. Agreed, Jasper. We see that a lot around here. So, other thing too to talk about. All right, messaging at scale, broadcast at scale, sending a lot of messages in a short period of time to your candidates. Okay, for what we talked about, so those urgent needs, we want to make them critical instead. Okay, we want you to prospect smarter. Okay, anytime that you send messages at scale, will increase your filtering risk, hands down. So please use best practices, everything that we're talking about here. Okay, please do not carpet bomb. We still see that here and there in Sense. Okay, you have a job to fill, it's critical, and you're just going to fire up a message to as many people as possible, hoping that you land one. Okay, take the time to segment and personalize the message. Believe it or not, slight variable changes like hi Craig and hello Craig, that lowers your filtering risk. All right. The algorithms are looking for robotic behavior. And this does a couple of things, right? It demonstrates that you know your customer. And it will also down the line increase your response rates as well. Okay. Jasper, I will let you take the other side here on engagement.
Absolutely. And this is another way to significantly lower your risk of being carrier filtered. Focus on engagement. Twitter, social media, these types of websites, platforms, those are for statements. What we want to do is engage. So we don't want to make statements. We want to ask questions so candidates and whoever we're reaching out to feels the desire to reply back and engage in a conversation so they can ask questions and we can ask more questions, keep that conversation going. Because inbound engagement, the candidate, the people replying to us saying, hey, I want to talk more about this. Carriers look at that very favorably and say, this is legitimate traffic. And this lowers the filtering risks. And my personal favorite part of this, it increases the overall NPS. I'm a firm believer in NPS. It is the truth and the source, and engagement will increase it.
Let me know if you're done, Jasper.
I would love to let you know if you're done, if I'm done, but that sounded more so like a statement, Craig. And I mean, I believe this is the webinar, not Twitter.
Are you done, Jasper?
I'm absolutely done. I appreciate you
Oh,
asking.
hey, no problem. No problem. Glad you could answer that.
Of
All
course.
right, so demonstration, okay? We are going to harp a lot on the theme. Like sometimes, do you ever send a test message to yourself? Okay, that's in a slide down the road here in the presentation. Okay, this is a demonstration that you can see where you can get a message on your phone. And on the left is an actual message that we picked out of Sense. So as you can see, unfortunately, a recruiter didn't really take any time to personalize the message. We don't know really much. Also didn't proofread it. And if you want to see this, okay, you can. The phone number you would send to is 345-345. Okay, you just put that like any standard phone number in the to field, and then all you have to do in the body is send sense one. All right, and the response will be that message to your phone so you can see it. Okay, standard disclaimer, message and data rates may apply. And no, you are not going to get a follow-up message. So it's okay. You can go ahead and send this. We're not going to follow up and ask you to sign up for Sense. All right, we've improved the message on the right there. Okay, and you can see this by sending Sense 2 to 345-345. Hi, Tina. We have a critical need at Vagabond tomorrow, June 5th from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Can I schedule you in? Simple question, right? Tina answers yes. Boom, you're done. All right, Tina answers no. No need for follow-up. You don't have to waste any time. You can mark Tina as a negative. Okay, and move on to the next candidate, whoever that may be. Okay, again, take some time to play with these. All right, and you know we're not here to pick on anybody. We understand that time is money. All right, but over time, take the time to personalize. Take the time to make sure you proofread your message, and your response rates will be better. All right. Jasper, you want to tell the good folks about links?
I do indeed. I do indeed. And carriers generally tolerate links for the most part, but there's some important points to take away from that, just so we can say we can't send any old link. Links cannot be whitelisted, unfortunately. So things like URL shorteners, bit.ly, tiny URL, you've seen them in text messages in business, outside of business. Everyone is using these. These cannot be whitelisted, and it does raise the eye of the carrier. So we want to avoid those. However, we do want to recommend using corporate branded links, meaning your website's domain, those sorts of things, something that's under your control. Because we can add these branded links to your 10DLC message campaign registration examples. We can document that this is this company's link. They use it for this purpose. It goes out to these people, and it's all documented, and the carrier looks onto that very favorably, or certainly. But the main takeaway I want to put here, obviously, is avoid those URL shorteners. And if you have a corporate branded link, we can set you up with that. We will make sure it's taken care of, and the carriers are very well aware that your traffic is legitimate and those links are a-okay to go out.
Awesome. Also, we want to talk a little bit about email and phone numbers. Okay. They occasionally do get tied up in filters. For reasons the carriers will never tell us, but we can make our own deductions. Regardless, if you are going to put your email address into a text message, use your branded email address, okay? Not your Yahoo, Hotmail, or for any of you that are as old as me, please do not use AOL, okay? And if I have an AOL email address, I'm sad to admit. All right, so on the second bullet, right? The @ symbol itself, special character. @ is for email address. Okay. AT is for time and location. Try and get out of that habit. Okay. To not use the @ symbol for time and location. All right. Generally, phone numbers are a very low filter risk. We've seen it happen from time to time. I honestly wouldn't worry too much about it, but we do want to call it out. We do recommend that you consider just asking the candidate to call you at this number, as long as you have call forwarding set up on Sense. All right. My favorite topic, Jasper, non-keyboard characters.
I think this is everyone's favorite topic for sure. So the carriers, they have essentially they're using two types of encoding when sending out text, or how it's also being received on the other end. And the technical details of that are not super crucial to understand as to why that matters. What is important to understand about these different types of encoding when you send out text and when it's been received on the other end is, in some cases, these non-keyboard characters will increase a filtering risk. Um, Additionally, non-keyboard characters will result in a lower segment count per text message.
Yeah, so non-keyboard characters. Last year we explained this a little bit differently, and we went into encoding. And I think what we're trying to do is help you understand it better. Okay. When you're drafting a text message, we generally like you to stick to what's on the keyboard. Okay. So I don't think that works so well. But I was trying to show you my keyboard. Okay. Emojis. Let's talk a little bit about them. I personally am not a big emoji fan, but I know that does not matter. We understand you're trying to build a personal relationship with these candidates. So feel free to use them. Okay. What I ask, and what we ask here at Sense, and we've seen this, we totally get there's a lot of things to be excited about if you get a big offer for a candidate, but there is zero reason to put $10 flying away emojis in the text message. Okay. That is just going to open yourself up to being filtered, and then you don't get to celebrate with the candidate because your message got blocked. All right. As Jasper sort of mentioned, all right, there are two types of encoding. On a standard keyboard message, all right, messages are broken down and billed by the carriers in 160 characters per message segment. The carriers support up to 1600. But once you add an emoji or a different non-keyboard carrier, that segment count becomes 70. Okay. So using an emoji and typing a long message can quickly become a 5-segment text message. All right. And on 10DLC, that can cause problems. All right. If your T-Mobile segment cap is low because your trust score is on the lower side and you can only send 10,000 T-Mobile segments per day, using an emoji in a broadcast campaign and sending it to 1,000 sending it to 1,000 candidates. Let's say it's a 5-segment message. All right, you basically used up half your allotted T-Mobile throttle for the day. Okay, so something to keep in mind. You'll notice that last bullet. Okay, T-Mobile has grown substantially in the past several years. So roughly an average, give or take a few percentage points every month, but roughly 34% of our US traffic here at Sense Talent Labs is sent to T-Mobile subscribers. So definitely something you want to focus on as you're designing broadcast messaging in your daily activities, okay? So wanted to make that clear. All right, moving on. Jasper, SMS versus email.
Absolutely. And there's a verses in there because they are not the same thing. They're very different beasts. Email is not SMS. Important point to think about here is it can't be formatted. There's no rich HTML, etc. available at this time. So you want to keep it short. You don't want to go through a bunch of formatting, etc. You don't want to treat it like an email, essentially. It should not read like an email. And we'll go into a demo momentarily about all of these points, but these are something to keep in mind that it is not, these are not the same thing. Email and SMS come out differently and should be treated differently.
Agreed. Okay, so another common problem here at Sense. All right, we see recruiters that copy and paste an email into a text message. Please do not do that. Okay, first of all, duplicating copy stinks response rates. If I get the same thing from you in all these different channels, I'm going to opt out of the mobile channel because that is the device I have with me the most. Okay. Another thing we see, a lot of calls to action in one single text message. SMS, again, meant to be short. Limit your calls to action to just one in SMS, whereas email can support 2 or 3, SMS only supports 1. All right, and just be really careful if you copy content from Microsoft or Google Docs. Sometimes that leads to the non-keyboard encoding. Recommend draft your message in Sense templates or draft your message in like a text editor, and then you will be safe and you will be okay. You don't have to worry about those non-keyboard characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also say use Sense to create these dynamic multi-channel comms. You can draft content specific to each channel. You can utilize our Sense journeys to their fullest extent. This is the purpose of these journeys. So you have this ability to utilize these multiple channels, and multi-channel campaigns consistently perform better than single channel campaigns. Just hands down, no competition there. And
All
if
right.
also,
Oh,
I didn't
sorry,
mean to
you
cut
wanted
you
to
off,
add
Greg, but
something.
I do want to add something important. If you need help with that, assistance with that, you have questions about that, how do we go about doing that? Reach out to us. We are here to help. Email us at support. We can look into it and we will help you strategize the best case for your situation. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, no problem, Jasper. We're here to help. All right. So another demonstration. Okay. This is a live message that we picked off of Sense 3 weeks ago. Okay. This is an email and a text message. Okay. Please do not do this. All right. If you want to see it, Sense 3 to 345 345. Okay. Again, 345 345 is the phone number. All right. This message I couldn't fit in here. So you will see it on your device if you hit that keyword. Okay, and on the right, we've improved it Sense 4 to 345 345. All right, kudos to any of you who gets my reference here. But as you can see, we changed this around a little bit. Hi, Dr. Hibbert. It's John from SNPP. I made up SNPP, just so everyone knows. I have some excellent primary and family care opportunities in Illinois, Iowa, Montana, Minnesota, South Dakota, and Springfield. Hint, hint. All at 220K or more. Can we schedule some time to discuss? Okay, and a link. All right. First off, I probably should have been a doctor because that's a lot of money. Second off, all right, more importantly, right, personalize the message. Okay. A little bit open about the opportunities. I'd like to see things be a little bit more specific. But again, right, we're after a response from Dr. Hibbert. We know he wants to work in Springfield. Okay. That's really where he's been working for years. But regardless, we're trying to get Dr. Hibbert to engage. Okay. And then you can open up a conversation about where these other opportunities are. What did we talk about, right? The more engagement, less chance of filtering. All right. That's what the carriers want to see. They want to see that what you are sending is valuable to their subscribers. Okay. And the more they see their subscribers engaging with you, all right, the less likely they are to filter your message. All right. Okay. So testing your messages, right? That's where we're leading into. I said we would reinforce this. Do you ever text yourself a message that you've typed up, okay? If you don't, please do. All right. Try to test on Apple, try to test on Android, not the end of the world. Okay. We understand people aren't carrying multiple devices like here at the Sense Ops team. That's okay. All right. But definitely review the message length, read it out loud, make sure that it makes sense, read it to a peer. Okay. Now, our amazing production team mocked this up here on the right. And the reason that they did that is because for fun, I sent this message to my dad and his mega font on his iPhone. All right. And it was just ridiculous. It required a lot of scrolling. This message did not see a lot of response rates, but it could have done way better. And again, in that demonstration is is the message that we're trying to convey to you. All right, Jasper. We're getting to the last reinforced point here. All right. And I did call you Jasper. I addressed you by your first name.
And I do appreciate that. That felt very personal, and it shows them that you care. And that kind of brings us to this, the importance of personalization. You always want to personalize. Why? It shows the candidate that you care. And when the candidate cares, they tend to respond, they engage. You do get that inbound engagement. And with that inbound engagement, as we spoke earlier, that decreases your filtering odds. So it's a win-win right off the bat. They're responding to you, and you've just lowered your filtering risk significantly without much effort on your part. That said, there's other scenarios where we might text, "Hi there, Craig," or just "Hi there." Hi there. It gets filtered and it violates knowing your customer and knowing your traffic. But the good news is you don't need to necessarily worry about, "Oh, did I only just type hi there? What did I type there? Is it personal?" Sense has variables and messaging and engage in our products to take care of this for you, to pull that information, and you can create templates, or you could do just an individualized message and have that information filled out for you. That will also significantly decrease your carrier filtering concerns, because now the carrier knows you know your customer and you know your traffic. On that same note, we want to be personal, but we also want to show compassion, because at the end of the day, candidates are humans too. We're human. We all have stresses. We all have great days. You want to put yourself in the candidate's shoes, because the candidate ultimately does not care about the other candidates. They're trying to see, what can I do to improve myself? How can this recruiter help me? You can do that by demonstrating that you care. And the best way to do this is following all of the best practices we've mentioned so far, because it's not just about filtering, it is about engagement, because they'll see that you do care. They'll see the compassion, that you're understanding, and they may have other messages, other offers from other recruiters, but they will recognize the one that's speaking out to them and saying, "Hey, I want to reach out to you. Let's discuss these things, etc." Doing this is easy in sense. Make templates. Take the time to draft your targeted message for those particular candidates. Use our variables, and just in general, remember, we're all human. It's tech, it's staffing, it's corporate, but at the end of the day, we are all human, and we just want to feel cared about. And when we feel cared about, there's more engagement, and it works out for everyone in the picture. Now, you may be drafting messages already, and you may be reviewing them. I would suggest meeting weekly to assess your content, what you're sending out. You want to ensure it's fresh, not sending out the same thing over and over. Also ensure it's personalized. And additionally, you want to analyze your response rates and opt-out rates. Uh, Opt-out rates should be less than 1%. When they go above that, carriers do get a little skittish. They do look at things a little bit more deeply. If you do run into that, please reach out to us. We have ways to determine what may be happening there. And it could just be a simple matter of assessing this content, assessing best practices, and it can be turned around. But it's also something to look out for. And the best way to, in general, avoid that is comply and thrive. And from my experience, those opt-out rates take care of themselves.
Yeah, no, agreed, Jasper. Just like we showed in that first example of our customer that is pretty strict about adhering to best practices. Okay, so we are pretty much getting towards the end here. One thing that we wanted to share with you before the end, if you get filtered, okay, something we on the operations team see here and there, okay, there are some different filter types. All right, one is a content filter. That means that the carriers didn't like a word or a character in your text, so they blocked it. But they're allowing your other traffic to get through. All right, then there's a total block. That means they've locked the line down. And once in a while, we hit some false positives. The carriers are constantly changing these filtering algorithms. Okay, so we'll just call that stuff happens. These things do happen. All right. And what we want to tell you is the days of number burning are over. All right. Used to be in the old days, you just buy another number and start texting. Okay. We know that your numbers are sort of like your personal identification number, right? And we know how important they are to you. Okay. Blocks can and they should be remediated. We do that on a constant basis here, working with the carriers. But sometimes we need your help. Okay. Sometimes we can't do it all. So we may ask for you to do a few things when we come aboard to remediate one of your lines. Okay. Again, we talked about the regulatory pressures are getting stronger, right? AT&T, we've seen this on rare occasions. AT&T has begun instituting 30-day lockdowns in extreme cases on volume lines. So lines that are doing some broadcasting here and there that are receiving high spam complaints, and almost to a T, those are like the hello there sort of carpet bombing messages. Okay. At any time, high spam complaints can sink your number. All right. And I will let Jasper tell you what to do if you do run into that little pesky filtering bug from the carriers.
Indeed, indeed. If you are filtered, the first recommendation I have here is to review the message with your peers and managers. That you're going to look for words, links, characters, the special characters we talked about, emojis, etc. I would also recommend reading the message backwards and forwards. We read text all day. We're working on screens all day. Our eyes skip over things. We just don't recognize them sometimes. But that's also why it's a great idea to have a peer, a manager, a second pair of eyes to look at the content and say, hey, I think I see this. What we do see a lot of the times for many of our support tickets is a message gets filtered or potentially filtered, doesn't go out, and the user will attempt to resend that message. We would strongly advise reviewing that message first before doing that, because if it is a legitimate filter, not following best practices, we don't want to add to that concern. So instead of that, once it's been reviewed, even if you're still not finding exactly what may have triggered that, write a new message and resend. Because that could be a good indication that we just missed something in the content of the previous message and the new message is clean. However, if you are still being filtered at that point, you still see potential carrier filtering. Consider, particularly if it's mass messages, considering put a pause on that campaign for 24 to 36 hours. That will prevent that particular content from going out at that time. Occasionally, these carrier filters are pretty temporary. I mean, we obviously discussed these 30-day lockdowns in extreme cases, but a lot of times these things do have a way of remediating themselves because they tend to be false positives in some cases. If they're not, if these are not false positives, if you're still not able to send that message out, you change your content and it's unclear, then please by all means reach out to us and we will review it and we will get to the bottom of it, whether it's a false positive or if it's something within the content that we need to help correct.
Absolutely. All right, real quick. That's pretty much it. We will allot some time for Q&A here in a second. We are going to play this little presentation of the new Sense High Volume Broadcasting product. All right, lots of people have asked for it, and now we have delivered. So I'm going to play this real quick, and then we'll start reviewing your questions in the chat. Sense is pleased to present the release of our new high volume broadcasting.
Hey, Craig, I think we had a bit of an audio issue there. We will send this recording out after the webinar.
Please present the room. Sounds good. Can you hear me?
Yep. I think it was just a
Sweet.
video. But
Okay.
we'll send that out afterwards.
We'll send it out. Sorry about that, folks. This is live TV. Okay. So sometimes things happen. Apologies.
It's the way
All
of the
right,
Zoom.
Q&A. Real quick, you want to learn more about the number one talent engagement platform, Sense Talent Labs. Go ahead and scan that QR code. We'll leave this here. Okay. I'm going to dive into some of these questions. We got a lot here. And by the way, if we don't get to your questions here in the next several minutes or whatever the case may be, we'll reach out to you. It's really that simple. Okay. It may not be today, but we will get back to you. Okay. So I'll just go down the line. So Michelle is asking us how did you say we can find out our trust score? If you are a Sense customer, reach out to us. If you are not, but you're interested in Sense, working with another vendor, your vendor will know. So just reach out and ask them. Okay. All right. So I think we got Rebecca's question there too. Same with Austin's. And then here's another question from an anonymous attendee. Okay, if they reply stop and we text them again, will it be delivered? And does that lessen the trust score? Truth be told, there's very limited communication between the campaign registry and the carriers. It's really kind of entertaining, and you often wonder why they set this whole thing up. That's a story for another day. But ultimately, if a candidate replies stop, and you try to text them again inside of Sense, and honestly, in most platforms, the message will be blocked. Okay. And what will happen though is if that candidate complains and the carriers catch that happening, then what would likely result is a campaign suspension. And that is a pretty impactful problem. So something to keep in mind. Hopefully that answered your question. I've seen a few of these questions. What do we consider to be message scale? We are sending message. The answer to the question is it sort of fluctuates, right? We generally here at Sense are tuning messages based on your available throughput. So we are forcing a lot of messages downstream to the carriers, whether you are sending a campaign of 100 messages or whether you are sending a campaign of 1,000. The truth of it is no one really knows the answer. The carriers aren't going to tell us. But what I can tell you is that in campaigns of even just a few hundred messages, you'll see like the first 60 get out, and then you start to see some filtering happening. So it really depends. Okay. Let's see, moving on. Hopefully that answered your question. If not, again, reach out to us. Jasper and I are a pretty chatty bunch, and we like to talk about this stuff. Okay. All right. Anonymous attendee. If we have a link, but it is naturally long, what should we do since it is not recommended to shorten it? Send the entire link. What I will tell you here at Sense, I didn't want to talk about it in the session, but just so everyone knows we're working on our own internal link shortening product for branded URLs. Okay. Very, very much in the early stages. If that's something that interests you, reach out to us. But the underlying premise is we, with your permission, will register a branded short link. We will then expose that to the carriers in your 10 DLC campaign. And then every link you create in Sense will start with that URL scheme. Okay. But in the meantime, just send the long link. Okay. Yeah, it stinks. It increases your segment count. But generally in this day and age, most devices are giving you a preview of the link. So even though it looks like absolute trash, inside of the messaging composer box, the reality of it is when it gets to the candidate, all it looks like is a box, right? And there may be a preview available, there may be not. All right, Calendly. We have a question about Calendly. I haven't seen too much Calendly filtering. I don't know why. It's kind of odd because the carriers really are definitely on this sort of branded link horse right now. I haven't seen a lot of them get filtered. That could change. Okay. Um, all right. So somebody, Michaela, I could use another explanation of the URL thing in more common non-computer technical person terminology. That is maybe my favorite question here, Michaela. I'm going to ask you to reach out to me if you can. Okay. I'm going to put the next screen here. I'm going to close this chat for a second. Just so you know, you can email Jasper or I. Please feel free. Okay. Michaela, would love to hear from you and I'll answer that for you. Okay. Let's see. All right, Kathleen. Yes, you can increase your trust score. Okay. Um, it generally does not necessarily apply to how the carriers filter your messaging. Okay. But if you are a Sense customer, there's my email, there's Jasper's email. Don't be a stranger. Okay. Again, these issues should be remediated. And we want the carriers to stop filtering your message. Okay. So reach out to us and we'll be glad to help and see if we can get that put behind you. Unfortunately, in this world, the carriers are constantly changing filtering algorithms. Okay. It's for those of you familiar with the SEO world, same sort of thing, right? Google changes its algorithm and they give it stupid names, all right? Penguin or whatever, elephant, sea whale. Same sort of thing here. Okay. And maybe the carriers have secret names for them. I don't know. But with that being said, there's constant evolution here. And that means that even going forward, you may run into these filters from time to time. Okay. And what I recommend is don't necessarily let it get you down. Generally, we know a message is not going to be delivered pretty immediately. Watch the message leave your inbox or your outbox, I should say. And within a few seconds, it'll come back, possible carrier filtering. Okay. Simple solution there is take a look at the message. And sometimes, like for this example this morning, we had complete filtering on are you interested in part-time or full-time positions? Like ridiculous, right? No clue why that was filtered. I couldn't pick out why it was filtered, but it was. All right. Sometimes that happens. There are false positives. Okay. Just take a deep breath, recraft the message and try it again and move about your day. But, at the end of your day, feel free to reach out to us because we're with you, right? We're your support arm. We want you to be successful. We want your messaging to be successful. Okay. We want you to drive around in a Range Rover if that's your thing. All right. And the way for you to do that is to be able to have messaging getting through to your candidates. Okay. So please don't hesitate to make use of us and we can take a look. Okay. Okay. Elizabeth, you have a few questions and I would recommend that you reach out to us, please. Where can I find the steps to create a template and Sense? Mark, reach out to us, please. Let's see. That messages can get filtered if there are too many. Uh-oh. Alexia, she's answering all these questions and I lost my place. All right. When you say campaign pause, do you mean all messaging to all parties or just the candidate you were filtered on? Carmen, just to make a little bit more sense of that question, okay? We are talking about broadcast messaging and sort of that example that you see like, oh, I sent a campaign to 100 candidates, but like the last 30 got filtered. What we would mean is quite possibly to hold off on broadcast or again, consider a complete rewrite and try for your next campaign to send. Okay. The filters do sometimes remediate themselves. All right, Alexia, I'm okay to go on if you want and people want to hang out if we want to go for another few minutes. Is that okay?
That is okay.
Oh, all right. Thank you, Alexia. Okay. Can you tell me why that would get filtered? I can't because I don't have the context of your question, anonymous attendee. But please do feel free to reach out. I do kind of wish we would get like some Google Docs things going here, Jasper, like anonymous attendee. Why can't it be like an anonymous alligator or anonymous ostrich? I'm just saying. All right, Carmen, how many messages are considered mass? All right, I do think we answered that. Again, we don't, the carriers aren't going to tell us that. So feel free to reach out or refer to my earlier answer. Yes, in sense, if you want to see example of that, anonymous, I'm just going to give you a name, anonymous sea otter. Do you receive any kind of notification if you have a message that is blocked? Yes, you do. Okay. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions about that. Is there a way to personalize your text if you are sending out a mass text? Anonymous Narwhal asked that question. The answer is yes. Okay, you can personalize to your heart's desire inside of Sense, and please do. All right, Rich Weed, excuse me. Excellent info. I was unaware of a lot of what you shared. Does Sense actively monitor our account on our behalf to ensure best practices, or is that our responsibility? You know, we on the operations and support team, we take a look around. And I would venture to say that the future is bright in terms of monitoring best practice activity, but we do not. Okay, we do run individual best practice sessions for recruiting teams. It's basically this same thing, okay, but allows your recruiters to ask us questions. Feel free to set something like that up. Reach out. Should we not share our Sense Generator referral link since it is a shortened link? That's a great question and a fair one, Kristen. I would definitely recommend that you continue using it, but if you see it get blocked, reach out to us. And then we can talk about the branded short link demo. For now, it's okay, but we're definitely, you know, we've seen some instances of it get filtered, and it cannot be remediated. Okay, so that's why we're working on a new product there. Raquel, I've already answered the Calendly question. Calendly continues to thrive in the ecosystem. I don't know how long that's going to last, so just FYI. All right, anonymous zebra. Is there a larger list of words that shouldn't be used? Yes, we can send one out. Just reach out to us. Is the trust score for the individual number or for the whole company? Colin, it is for the entire company. Okay, when you applied for a brand score, your tax ID was required. That tax ID was put through a vetting algorithm, checked your credit score, how many times you've been sued under the TCPA, a LexisNexis lookup if you're familiar with LexisNexis, and a few other things. And that's what they use. And I should say, the length of time in business is unbelievably important to that score. So that is all checked, okay? And then they spit out the score, and it is at the organizational level, okay? Now, so you know, though, an individual can do some damage to that. We haven't had that happen here, and it really is not something you have to worry about. We can remediate it. But we've certainly had some instances where, and honestly, this recruiter didn't do anything wrong. She just wasn't careful about the language she was using, and what it did is it sounded threatening, right? And it wasn't threatening by any means. It had to do with a contract that was being cut off. You know, and the hospital was threatening the agency, was threatening the candidate with terminations and all this, and she was just passing that on to the candidate. And you know, it got flagged for harassment, that sort of thing. So, you know, again, adhere to best practices. You'll never have that problem. We haven't had that problem, but it is, just to be transparent, something to be aware of. All right, Stephanie, I think I did a good job to answer your question with the answer to Collins. All right, lots of questions about short links. I think I've covered those. But Stephanie, feel free to reach out to Jasper or I or both of us. We'd love to hear from you. All right, Jim. You mentioned to stay away from using emojis, use mostly keyboard characters. Sense provides many emojis as part of the messaging platform. Should we not be using them? Jim, I'm in the minority. Okay. I personally, to be frank with you, I do not like emojis, mostly because that's what my kids send me and it drives me crazy because I'm supposed to translate them. And frankly, Jim, I don't have time for that. Okay. I'm too old. So with that being said, my personal is not the problem here. Okay. You are okay to use them, and that's why we provide them, and that's not going to change. Okay. What we want to avoid is like 5 emojis in a message, $5 like we talked about in a message, 5 exclamation points. Okay. Multiple use is your problem. And me personally, you get the point across with 1 smiley face. Okay. 3 of them, isn't going to add any extra oomph for emphasis. So the answer to your question is you are fine to use them. Recruiters are not going to stop, and that's okay. Okay. All we ask is that you just monitor the behavior and say, hey, one and done. All right. So hopefully that answers your question. Feel free to reach out if it doesn't. All right, Yogesh, I hope I pronounced your name right. Okay. Is there any limit to send SMS per day? I'm, that's kind of a broad question, and reach out if you have any questions. Reach out if you want for more context. I'll do my best here. Okay. As we talked about on 10DLC, there is a limit depending on your brand score to T-Mobile subscribers. On 10DLC for Verizon and AT&T, it is unlimited. You can send as much traffic as your throughput will allow, or the carriers might eventually crack down on that if it's a lot of volume. But with that being said, to answer your question, yes on T-Mobile, no on Verizon and AT&T. On the Sense broadcast product, by default, we limit you to the ability to send 100 texts in a broadcast. But our new product, which we demoed, you can send up to 50,000 messages in a broadcast. That's the limit. Okay. Anonymous attendee. Excuse me. This is anonymous Tim Cook. Tim Cook is here. With Apple adopting RCS, this is going to be one of my favorite questions. With Apple adopting RCS, will we see read receipts and other related features added into Sense in the future? Okay, let's break that down real quick. Apple is adding RCS to P2P messaging. So that's you texting your kids, you texting your significant others, your friends, whatever the case may be. It is not in recruiter to candidate text messaging, A2P, business to consumer messaging. However, there is a lot to be excited about. Okay. I back with another company. I was in an RCS beta in 2017. That's how RCS has been around a long time. Okay. But unfortunately, Apple, for whatever reason, was really the holdup. Okay. So to answer your question, we are monitoring. We don't know when Apple is going to release RCS to the A2P landscape. But what I will tell you is we're pretty awesome here. Pretty amazing engineering team, unlike any that I've ever seen. I have been bullish on RCS for a long time, as long as Apple got on board. But ultimately, we will very much be on the RCS train. There are a multitude of advantages, especially in staffing and staffing automation, that RCS brings. Okay. And it's not even what we're talking about, read and things like that, right? It's alpha sender ID. That means Craig from Sense is in the caller ID for a text message. The ability to build workflow in an SMS instead of an email. So a lot of exciting things. Right now here at Sense, we're just keeping an eye on things. We have a lot of RCS API playbooks broken out. So we'll be ready to go when the time comes, I can assure you. All right, anonymous Tim Cook. I hope that answers your question, but if it does not, please let me know. Alexia, I see a few more. Jane, what about using ASAP? I've seen most people get away with ASAP. I would be cautious. Again, that safe word is critical. But you know what, Jane, if it's working for you and you're not getting any errors, feel free. All right, continue. And just so you know, I do know for a fact that that can be remediated. But obviously we want your text to get through the first time. All right, anonymous dog. In this case, what are the alternatives if we want to ask for the drug test? All right, that was in the slide deck, substance testing. If you got any questions, reach out. Alexia, do you feel like there's anything I missed?
I think we're good, and we'll have follow up on this. So,
Okay. Well, Jasper, my friend, always a pleasure doing these with you.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
for those 200 of you that stayed, thank you. So if you are not annoyed with our voices by now, please feel free to reach out. We love to talk about messaging. Alexia, thanks for putting on an amazing show and making it easy for us. From all of us here at Sense, please have an amazing rest of your week and an amazing weekend. All right, bye everyone.
Cheers.